When Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump meet here in Washington, D.C., the conversation on immigration is bound to be a difficult one. India is likely to raise concerns over how recently, in a deportation flight, Indians were restrained using chains and handcuffs. We would definitely be asking for more humane treatment for Indian nationals. How will this go, and what will Donald Trump ask for in return? Those are big questions. I spoke to Michael Kugelman, director of the South Asia program at the Wilson Center. Listen in. Michael, thank you for joining us. What does Prime Minister Modi expect from this trip, and what can we realistically achieve?
Well, I think, first off, he's looking to reassert his friendship with President Trump and to reassert partnership between these two countries. I think it's pretty significant that Prime Minister Modi will be just the fourth foreign leader to meet with President Trump since he took office. I think that it says something about how important this administration views the relationship with India. And, this is going to be a bit of an unusual meeting in the sense that these are early days for the administration. A number of key posts in this administration focused on India have not yet been filled. So I don't think that we should expect major substantive discussions and splashy deals, but I think that there will be a lot of opportunities for the Prime Minister with President Trump and other senior officials that he meets with to chart out priorities for the relationship. But I do think that we will see the transactional side of the strategic partnership too. I suspect that there will be some discussion and some asks, so to speak, from President Trump and perhaps from Prime Minister Modi on a variety of things, whether you're talking about trade or energy or whatever the case.
Let's talk about trade. We have a $35 billion trade surplus with the U.S. What could be the immediate asks from the U.S. side?
So I don't expect any immediate specific asks. I think that the Indian government has been very savvy in terms of how it's approached the administration on the issue of trade and tariffs. India has indeed reduced some tariffs in recent days. It had signaled publicly that it was willing to do that. And so I think that makes it less likely that you're going to have a sharp demand from Trump. But I do think that, as you say, this trade deficit is very high and it's not in America's favor. I think that there might be a bit of a push from President Trump to do more. But, I see this as an opportunity for India, quite frankly. I think that Prime Minister Modi might have an opportunity to make a pitch to President Trump for some type of negotiation toward an agreement, not an FTA, but some type of economic partnership accord that could enable the two sides to reduce tariffs.
Right. And on the energy partnership, are you expecting the U.S. to press India to buy more LNG, buy more crude oil?
Well, just a few years ago, in 2021, India was actually the top destination for U.S. oil exports. Things, of course, changed with global oil markets when you had the war in Ukraine begin, and that, of course, prompted India to start importing more oil, cheap oil from Russia. So I think that, President Trump will ask India to buy more energy. This is an ask he's making of many countries. He wants countries to buy American, particularly close allies and partners like India. But I think that for India, the challenge will be the price point, right? I think India would be receptive to acquiring more American oil, LNG, but the price point has to be right, given how cheap that Russian energy is. But here, I think that perhaps India, that Prime Minister Modi might make an ask on the energy front as well, in terms of nuclear energy. We know that India just announced a new nuclear energy mission, and I think that New Delhi might see this as a useful fuel to make a pitch to the Trump administration to invest in. It's not solar power, it's not wind power, which might not be attractive to the administration, but it's a cleaner fuel than fossil fuels. And as India moves toward its goals of reducing carbon emissions, I think that might be a useful area to focus on.
Any irritants in the relationship?
Certainly, I think that we could see some, and I think in the most immediate term, the issue of immigration could be that case. Again, New Delhi has signaled its willingness to work with the administration on this issue, and of course, it's already taken back just over 100 deportees that arrived last week. But this is going to be a very difficult issue. It's not clear exactly how many undocumented Indians there are in the U.S. Some estimates indicate more than 700,000. And if that's true, that's a very large number. And I think it'll be a very delicate negotiation for India to carry off with the U.S. as to how that'll work, how many it takes back. I don't necessarily think that Modi's visit with Trump this time will get into big details on that, but it'll have to be discussed because this is a big priority for the Trump administration.
Michael, help us understand. On one hand, the U.S. has told us that there are 18,000 Indians staying illegally in the U.S. which have to be taken back. At the same time, there are reports which say that there are 7.5 5 lakh or 750,000 Indians staying illegally in America. So how is one coming to that number, and what category of Indian nationals fall in this 7.5 lakh bracket?
Right, so ultimately I'm not sure. I mean, I do know that that larger estimate had been provided by Pew, which is a very credible entity when this comes to play. And I think that lower figure might be the figure that the administration is targeting for the Indian government to focus on in terms of taking them back. But ultimately, I don't know. But this is this is going to be an issue, and even the best relationships, the closest partnerships, are going to have some bones of contention. And I think that this will be one of them. Though I think it is encouraging that in the early days of the Trump administration, New Delhi has signaled publicly that it wants to work with the administration on making sure this does not become a tension point.
Right. India is very concerned about the manner in which Indians were treated in that deportation flight, restraints on their hands and legs. Do you think if this is taken up at the highest level, will the US make a concession for India?
I mean, this is the type of thing that it might come up during Modi's visit. Indeed, I think it's quite significant that you did have at least one Indian official raise the issue, raise this concern, gently, diplomatically, about the treatment of the Indians on their return home. But I don't think that either side wants this to become a big tension point. So, I mean, Trump is, of course, a transactional leader. We hear that all the time. And, if he hears a concern from the Indian side, he might be willing to address it, but might ask for something in return. There's always that possibility.
All right. Michael, thank you so much for speaking to us, putting the visit into context. And clearly, the immigration issue will be a delicate and sensitive one when the two leaders meet. Thanks so much. On that note, we take a short break, but don't go anywhere. A conversation with Rich McCormick, Congressman and co-chair of the India Caucus here in United States.